All right, Charlie. Okay.
Elton.
Like, have you seen Game of Thrones is one of, or I can say, like the biggest universe in all of fiction, in my opinion.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
you might bring Lord of the Rings or what
The
do you
Lord of
call
the
it?
Rings universe is wide, but then we've not had so much, should I say, exploration of it. See, after the original, the Hobbit film, and then the Lord of the Rings film, I think Prime Video decided to do the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, that explores how Sauron came to be who he is, and then the whole mythology before we came to have Lord of the Rings. Okay. But
Okay.
that doesn't have a much wider base as Game of Thrones does. There are so many universes in Game of Thrones to explore from.
Yeah.
So comparing that to Game of Thrones actually has a wider universe to explore.
Yes. So like the fact that how that Game of Thrones is the biggest, as I've said, and you
Yep.
agree with it. Someone might ask how Game of Thrones also began. You see, it begins with how Robert is already king.
Yeah, Robert
But
is
then
king.
we already know that Robert overthrew the Targaryen dynasty, he overthrew a Targaryen monarch
Yep.
and destroyed a nearly 300-year-old dynasty by
Yes, they had
himself.
ruled for
So some
quite a
people might
long
not
time.
even be understanding how this came to be or how the rebellion even came to be. So today, like, I want us to discuss how the rebellion, like Robert's rebellion, even came to be. So, like,
Great.
do you have any idea of the rebellion, like any how it went
The
on?
only thing I know about Robert's rebellion is what I heard from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
That was told at the start of it. You get it, yeah. How Robert overthrew the Targaryen dynasty with the help of Ned Stark, and then how turns out Jon Snow is actually a Targaryen, but then his dad, fled during the battle, and then that's how come Rhaenyra, Daenerys actually happened to be born on the other side of Westeros and all that. But then, as to what actually happened that led to all these things coming into play, I have very little idea of it.
okay. So, like with the rebellion,
Okay,
I have really done some small research on it. So I'm really
you've
like,
danced to it.
yes. But one thing about the Game of Thrones universe that I love is the Robert's rebellion. Like, I'm really not really understanding why they are not really giving us Robert's rebellion because it's something that is a peak moment. Something like as a power as big as the Targaryen fell down to this rebellion, and they're not really showing it or explaining to us further because we only had pieces of it. So it begins with Harrenhal, like they had this kind of a tourney, like this celebration, what they
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, and Prince Rhaegar too is like this kind of person who believes in prophecy. Like, yes, I would say the Targaryens are mostly dreamers. Most of the Targaryens, no, few of the Targaryens are dreamers. I believe in the Ninth of the Seven Kingdoms, this one said, like, I think Daron or something. He said our family have dreamers or something. I was thinking that guy too was a dreamer. I believe like maybe Rhaegar too was also a dreamer or something.
Okay.
So he had this ambition or this like idea for this prophecy, because the prophecy of ice and fire or something. So like she had this thought of making it real or making it preparing them for the long run, like because we understand that the song of ice and fire is what traces back to the ninth king
Yep.
and everything that comes beneath it. So he wanted to prepare it. So in the tourney or everything, what they were doing, the
So
celebration.
I won't cut you short, but I just want to ask it. So the Song of Fire and Ice, okay, which Viserys had a vision of.
Yes, vision. So isn't it Damon who had this vision?
Who?
Damon had a vision. That
Daemon had a vision of it.
yeah.
And then Rhaegar too
I don't know
dreams
if he had
about
a
it.
vision or something, but
So
he wanted
all
to make
these
it.
things were bound to happen many years
Yes,
after they are no longer. Wow.
but another thing that really pisses me off is that you Targaryens are aware of this. You are aware of this thing, this trait that is beyond the wall. But I don't know, because I'm not really versed in this story. But then I don't know, like they didn't really make more effort into the war because as time went on, the war is now like mostly abandoned. Like the Castle Black doesn't have a lot of soldiers to man the wall.
But weren't they the ones who actually erected the wall?
No.
They weren't the ones.
The wall existed before the Targaryens even came to conquer Westeros.
So who built the wall?
The Starks.
The Starks did.
Famously, I think it's called Bran the Builder. Bran Stark, he was known as Bran the Builder. They say he's the one who even built Winterfell. He's the one who built the wall.
Why did he build the wall?
Yes, then that's the most interesting part, to keep darkness away from.
Which darkness did he see?
Have you seen with the White Walkers? Like most people don't really know about the White Walkers, but the White Walkers have already invaded once or have already fought with the First Men before.
Okay,
So
so
that
the
fight has
White
happened.
Walkers, let me get this straight. So the White Walkers existed even before
Yes.
Aegon the Conqueror came.
Yes. Thousands of years. And then they've already fought before.
So in Game of Thrones, where Bran saw the first White Walker turned, it was during the time of the First Men. Okay, they were fighting. Do you remember where Bran was having these visions of how
Yes.
the White Walker came, and then we saw those the ladies who look like trees and all that. They put this shred of glass into a man's heart, and he became the Ninth King. So that was before Aegon the Conqueror came to conquer Westeros and all.
Yes.
And then in that they made us understand that it was actually a battle they were fighting, and then they were losing. So whom were they fighting against that they were losing, that they had to create this supernatural being to actually fight for them on their side?
Like, as I said, this is just my opinion. Like, I don't really know about that part in particular.
Okay.
But with the children of the forest, that ladies that are clothed in trees and everything. You see, the whole thing about Westeros, no, they were independent kingdoms, right? They were independent kingdoms. Everyone had their kingdom. North had this kingdom and this and that. And the fate of the seven, they came from somewhere. I think they came from somewhere. I don't know the name. If you know the name, you just put it in the comments. They came from somewhere to bring the fate of the seven. Have you seen currently, like, the Westeros serve, like most of Westeros people, like they serve the seven gods, like
The seven.
the father, the mother, the stranger. They have you seen the fate of the seven, like the high sept and everything. So they came to that land to conquer, to spread the faith. They were like crusaders, like they were like
Missionaries.
yes, like how most of Africa was colonized, they brought Christianity and everything. So they were also a powerful force, and they were bringing religion, the fate of the seven, and they spread out. But before that time, it was the tree, the wayward tree, the tree where the old gods residing. That was what was dominated across all of Westeros. So the gods that's the Stark serve, or the most of the northern people serve, had already had like influence across Westeros, according to what I believe or I am aware of. But when they came, when the people from far away came to bring their influence and their religion, they had to uproot the religion that they think is, like
a cake.
or something. So they bent down all these trees. But then it was the children of forest are also like, closer to these gods, right? Yeah, so they were pushing them away. So they were burning every tree and they were pushing them away. So it was only in the north that they didn't move any further, because the kings of winter, out of the Starks, were able to defend themselves till they couldn't get past Mount Killen, which is like one of the biggest castle, like which defends against intruders. So that Mount Killen is like something that is
Like
there,
a fort.
like a fort that is just that was erected to face off enemies who wants to come in the north. So that's where the north stood when they defended the north. So the fate of the seven couldn't get past the north. So that's why the north still said they serve the old gods, because they didn't have any influence on the fate of the seven. So I believe like it's because of these kind of wars that drove the children of the forest to do what they did. But I don't really get it, because that was beyond the war or something. And I don't think people were chasing them beyond the war. I don't know if they were hiding from the wildlings or others. But I don't know, because the story there was in the later seasons, right?
Yep.
And that story was not what George R. Martin was writing. I don't know if they had already discussed it with him, then he told them these pointers. But then I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So where was I? Harrenhal. So when it comes to Harrenhal, where there were this celebration where they were making this tourney, and the Starks were also present, the Baratheon was also present, and at that time, Robert was betrothed to Lyanna Stark.
Okay.
Do you know Lyanna Stark?
Yep.
Yes. So Lyanna Stark was the sister of Ned. They were betrothed to each other, Robert and Lyanna Stark. So at that time, all this time, you remember that Rhaegar Targaryen, which I believe you admire because of some people's things. So you hear Rhaegar Targaryen, you believe he's some vigilant, some tough guy, right?
This is what I saw of him in.
Yes, because in the songs, in people's voice, Rhaegar Targaryen fought brilliantly. It was a beautiful praise and all these things. But remember that at that time, Rhaegar was married with children.
Okay.
He had married a Dornish princess, and he had children with her. So he had about 2 or 3 children. I've forgotten, but he had these children with her, and he has a wife. So one thing about the tourney is that once you win, like it's more of like you win to gain favor. Like so, so remember the tourney of the Knights of the Seven Kingdoms where there were 5 champions and there were 5 opponents, like
Yes,
five.
yes.
So the whole concept about it
Even
is
in Game of Thrones, we had a Tony in there.
yes, but I'm talking
Yes.
about the rules or
The
like
rules.
why they are champions, why you have to defeat one to become a champion. So the defenders, like the champions of the ones who is hosting it, or most of the tournaments that I'm aware of, they will have the champion, the 5 champions or 7, I think it's 7 champions. But so they will have to present this thing to the lady or someone once they are victorious. So they are the ones who are supposed to defend that lady's honor. So in the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, it was the birthday of that lady over there, the Lord's daughter.
Yeah.
So the champions were supposed to win till the end, and once they win to the end, they will now present the rules of whatever to that lady. So they've defended her honor. But if they lose and one become a champion in their stead, it will up to that champion to put that rules to whatever lady he wants to present to her as the queen of beauties or whatever.
Okay.
So that's why like Sir Duncan wanted to be a champion because you have to defeat a champion
Yeah,
to become a champion. Yeah, so the whole concept is a bit tricky because I don't really know about the rules of the Harren Hall, but then they fought, they did what they did. As you know the rules about this thing, they did what they did. Sebastian was in, then did what they did, and then Rhaegar Targaryen won.
Okay.
And when Rhaegar won, people were expecting him to put that rose or whatever to his wife. Because his wife is like, you are already married. So once you've won, you have to present this one to someone. Isn't it your wife who you have to put it on?
Yeah.
Yes. But
that would be the most obvious choice.
But imagine what he did. He rode past his wife and placed that rose on the laps on Lyanna Stark. Lyanna Stark, who is betrothed to Robert Baratheon. Or you have a wife.
But at that time, the Targaryens were ruling.
Yes, at that time, Aerys Targaryen, the Mad King, was ruling.
The Mad King.
And when we get to a part,
father.
Yes, when we get to a time, I will explain to you why he even got the name Mad King. There's a lot of because he wasn't really mad from the beginning. He became mad. Let me just say it. His madness became too much because people kidnapped him. A king. He was a king, but he was kidnapped, and the people who kidnapped him like ransomed him.
Okay.
So once they got him back, he was full of anger. Like he saw enemies everywhere. He saw enemies here and there and there. So we became like everyone is an enemy. So as time went on, he was putting wildfire in every corner of the kingdom because he wanted to die with the kingdom if he was also to fall. Yeah. So back to Harren Hall. So with the Harren Hall case, after he had done all these things, a year later, Lyanna Stark vanished. So who will you suspect? Someone, a prince, I've placed this one on this lady's lap, and then the lady the lady is vanished. What do you expect? So they assume that the Starks assume that Brandon Stark in particular, who is the eldest brother of the Starks, the heir to Winterfell, assume that it is Rhaegar who had kidnapped his wife, his daughter, his sister. At that time too, Brandon was also betrothed to Catelyn Stark. Catelyn Stark of what do you call it? Catelyn Tully. Yes, of a friend. What do you call it?
Who later became
yes, he was
Catelyn Stark, Lady Stark.
Yes. So he was betrothed to her, and he was supposed to go and marry her. But then, when he was going there, he heard this thing about his sister's abduction, and then he decided to go to King's Landing. Like they say that even like the Lord Tully over there was like he's a brute or whatever fool. He a gallant fool or something because it didn't make any sense for you to go to the capital and call out the prince to die. But that's what he did. He went to the capital, to the Red Keep, and was demanding that Rhaegar come so that he can die because he has kidnapped his sister. In the capital, where the Targaryens are ruling. It didn't make any sense. So immediately, the man, and you know that the king is also mad.
Yeah,
the man king immediately ordered them to arrest them, and they arrested them. And mind you, there were high laws among his company too.
Okay.
So when he kidnapped him, it was when they arrested him, they placed them all in the
dungeons.
The dungeons, and then they called their fathers and their people to come and answer for their crimes. Are you following what I'm saying?
I'm following. I am.
Yeah. So then they brought them to the capital. So they brought the Stark. Lord Stark also came over there to to defend his son or something. So as time went on, he asked for a trial by combat. Yes, and the
Yes,
king
that is
agreed.
one of the
You've heard of it, right?
the trial by combat. I heard of it first in Game of Thrones.
I'm talking about that particular.
No, that particular trial of combat.
Okay, then you'll be
no, I-
amazed by this part. He demanded the Stark. He demanded the trial by combat, which I don't really get because the trial by combat is more of the fifth of the 7 week.
Yes.
But the Stark is serves to save the old gods. So this one he demanded a trial by combat, and then he was like Vim. The old Markin was like Vim. So he had to prepare. The Lord Stark prepared, armored himself and everything, and he had him the Lord Stark come in the throne room or something. And then they then placed Brandon Stark and the king Lord Stark somewhere, and then they were setting him on fire because the Mad King said that he has chosen fire as a champion. He said, he said fire is the champion of Targaryens. So my champion is fire. So now the only way you can win is to not burn. This was actually spoken by James Lancer told Catelyn Stark what I'm saying right now. He told Catelyn when he was talking with Catelyn in the dungeon somewhere in Riverrun. They were talking about how all this went to be, and then he told Catelyn about how even these things happen because anytime they were calling him Kingslayer, he was like, what a king he was. Because that king, the monstrosity that this king was doing didn't make any sense. That's what brought him to say that even Lord Stark, your husband's father, look at what he did, what that king did to him. He chose fire as a champion, so they burnt him alive. He didn't even take his clothes off. In that metal, he was burning, and then they also brought his son to watch and saying that the son can also go and free him if he can. But they've used some leather to also strap his neck. So once that Brandon Stark was also trying to struggle, he strangled himself to death. Yeah, so I believe like among the people who came with him, only a few survived. And afterwards, he didn't even end there. He sent word to like Lord Arryn, who was in
Of
the
the
Vale. Of the Vale, yes. And obviously he was fostering like Robert and Ned Stark. Obviously, yes. So Robert and Ned, that's where they became brothers. They became like brothers over there because they were under the service of John Arryn, because this is one of the customs over the kingdom. You send your children to another kingdom so that they will be raised in a different environment. So that's what they were doing, and they were under the care of Lord Arryn. So he sent word to Lord Arryn to bring the heads of these two to him. That didn't make sense.
Hold on. Wait, I want to get this clear. After he had killed Lord Stark and then the firstborn, who was actually betrothed to Catelyn Stark in King's Landing, he sent word that Ned Stark's head should be brought to him
along with Robert.
But what had Robert done?
What has Ned also done? With Ned, you can say that because
he's the next in line to be Lord of Winterfell.
Yeah.
You get, but then what has Robert done?
He and Ned were like this. They're like bloodless, thick as thieves. Like they were like thick. So
yes.
if you kill one and you don't kill one, you know that
the other will come against you. This is so mad of the Mad King.
Oh yeah. So he demanded the heads that they should bring the heads to him so that he'll be comfortable. Because as long as Ned Stark is alive, he'll be threatened. Because he just killed his father and his other brother. And Robert to bring me his head so that he doesn't, because of Ned, he also fight against him. And that's when the rebellion started.